Hey everybody, and welcome to Bearcat Insider. It is Thursday, February 11th, and we are at home.
There's 8 inches of snow on the ground
somewhere.
Yeah.
As I'm looking out the window, there's 8 inches of snow.
Now, I already took one phone call on why in the world are we not in school and why are we not having basketball. We have a playoff game coming, all this, and I did respond in the very professional way that I always respond to everything. And I told him, I said, what time do you think the school day starts? They said, well, 7:55 when the bell rings. I said, no, I'm at that gym at 5:45. Kids are getting there around 6. Buses are already running. The North Shore has to wake up because, of everything. And I said, you have to make a weather call for Pilot Point ISD almost the night before. And judging by what the forecasts were saying, I think you made the correct call.
Well, so here's...
But then you couple in...
Yeah. Hit just south. I mean, we just missed it.
Yeah.
But you couple in the number of cases is on the rise.
And I think that's what...
It's a 2-for-1.
It is. And I think that's kind of what got... the letter that I put out there on the website said, point blank, we've got a COVID issue. Feel like we've got an inclement weather coming in. We're just going to call this sucker for a couple days. 5 days in COVID is a big deal.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because if you're in close contact with somebody, if you don't get it within 5 days, there's a 96% chance you won't get it. And so the thinking was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we're out. Yeah. Come back Tuesday. The other thing, too, is that what a lot of people don't know, and I know they get the calls and see the letters and everything, but I don't know if they have a tally sheet at the house. We've had 30 positive cases in the last 10 days. And so we've got about 47 kids at the middle school right now in quarantine.
I have one of them.
Yeah, I have one of them as well. And so we wiped out the 8th grade and 7th grade boys basketball team in one night. And we've got quite a few kids at the high school in quarantine as well. So it's coupled with all of that, with the possibility of inclement weather. Going out 2 days gives us 5. Just thought, let's just do it. Pull the trigger and let's see what happens. Because, the one thing, what we've learned is just about every time that when we do shut down or try to have a little extended break, it does bounce back. And so we're trying to get this slowed down a little bit. So, yes, it was. We were trying to kill 2 birds with one stone. Everything we were seeing about weather was not looking good. Of course, you'd go to Channel 4, you'd go look at weather.com, everything, and I don't think any of it panned out like a lot of them were thinking it would, but it was a 2-for-1 deal.
Well, and like Chance said, is 30 minutes south of us, it's a completely different weather situation.
Yeah.
And so, the Texas weather, it's hard to predict, but you have to always err on the side of caution.
You do, and to me, there was no reason to really push it, being that we could go remote and everything would be fine. A lot of people, it's what you said, a lot of people understand is, the classes start going at 7:55, but we were running a long time before then, and we've got to go way out to the lake, the other side of the lake, cross lots of bridges, lots of kids on those buses. Sometimes you just kind of just pull the trigger to play it safe, and that's kind of the thought process. We've got COVID going on. God only knows what the weather's going to do. Let's just go a couple days in-house here and just see what happens, see if we can slow it down a little bit.
Well, and now all that was secondary to why we were actually going to sit down and talk to you.
Yeah.
Real quick, we dove right into weather.
Yeah.
Maybe if people are listening for the first time, we should introduce ourselves and say who we are, like we normally do. We were just so excited about the weather.
All right. Well, I'm assistant coach Travis Marsh.
Everybody's favorite assistant coach.
I'm sitting with Pilot Point's favorite son, Chance Kirby.
Chance the realtor.
And we're here with the Bearcat King, Todd Southard.
Yes.
Also, word on the street, Todd Exotic.
I actually watched the series.
It's awesome, isn't it?
It is hysterical.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good.
Did you see that Pilot Point high school photo in there?
Yes,
flashed
I did.
Just for a second.
I had not seen it, and I finally watched it the other night.
So for those of you that are not totally hip to pop culture, we were referencing Joe Exotic, who is a Pilot Point graduate, and then there's the Netflix series, The Tiger King. And so we're here with the Bearcat King, and we're going to talk realignment. Now, initially, whenever this was broached with Chance.
I was really excited. While we're talking already, snapshot day and the possibility of who's going to be in our district a year in advance. Hey, I'm game. You call me and say let's have a podcast about it. I'm ready to go.
And then we're even getting the soup involved. This is great.
That's right. I'm like, wow, he's already wanting to talk about it. Go sports.
Yeah, but the Chance's world came crashing down whenever
Quickly.
he realizes that this is all based on an email that we received, a district-wide email this week, with a long-running, kind of long-term plan for the realignment of our district and kind of how we're going to, I guess, house the students. Would that be the thing? And so, Ms. Southard, the floor is yours. Let's talk realignment.
I guess we can go do it by kind of building would probably be the easiest way to explain it to everybody. So the current elementary school next year will become basically the early childhood center, and that will be pre-K. All right. One of the things that we're going to do differently next year is we are going to offer free pre-K for all.
Okay.
Our goal is twofold. Is one, we feel like when you get those kids in there, any kid, but we need to get kids in there early and start working with them. And if we open it up to everybody and it's free, we feel like in the end we're going to be ahead with those kids' academics.
So I'm assuming that'll be full day.
Be full day.
Curriculum based, not daycare.
It ain't daycare.
It is a true blue curriculum based pre-K.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we will and I hope too is Travis, that's something that a lot of districts are doing around here. And I do think we're losing some kids because of that. And I think we need to make a move there to get those kids in. And so Miss Tripmatter will be the principal there. She'll still be there.
Okay.
And then also part of that building we're going to make into an administrative wing. We are literally on top of one another in the administration building right now.
It gets cramped in there.
It's unbelievably bad. And so, when you drive by it, you don't realize it, but we have 10 people working in one half of that building.
Right.
And so we are on top of one another. So we're going to take a wing of that building, and that will become the administration offices. Long term, realistically, and of course this is probably a few years down the road, I really think that building in general will probably become just an entire administration office because of its location. We put a whole lot more kids in there. There is no parking. It is hard running folks through there. It is cramped and tight. So kind of long term, we think that's probably where that building's going to end up being anyway.
Now, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
If the admin moves to the elementary, what will go? I mean, we still need the meeting room for school board meetings, and then I know whenever I was there the other day, it looked like there was another. It's a multi-function meeting room. Yeah. And so you'll still have that. So is that just going to turn into kind of a meeting place?
Yeah, I mean, that is where we'll have our board meetings. Yes, we're going to go in that wing and we're going to remodel some stuff. We're going to knock out a few walls, make a bigger board room is what we need, because one of the things that before COVID, we would bring kids in, their parents in, and recognize different kids and stuff, and it was wall to wall, everyone cramped. It was pretty bad, to be honest with you, because you just couldn't get everybody in there. And so we're going to knock out a couple walls and make one big boardroom in that wing there. And then we'll house the rest of the administrative team in there as well. So that's what that building will be.
Okay.
What does that do for numbers? And that's probably something you can't answer exactly, but is that reducing the number of kids at that campus?
Yeah, I think so. When you're going pre-KK, I think probably realistically we will have probably in a neighborhood of about 150 kids. That's what we're hoping. We think we'll probably have somewhere around 100 kindergartners roughly, because that's about what our class sizes are. And then if we can get about 50 to 60 kids, pre-Kers in there, so that's what I'm thinking probably that will end up being.
That will alleviate some of the traffic issues.
It will alleviate some of the traffic issues, and we still have enough room there. There's still going to be probably, I think we counted up about 5 or 6 rooms still empty in that building. Yeah. So there's still room to expand there if we need to. Okay. The intermediate school will be Pilot Point Elementary. It will go grades 1 through 5. Okay. That building actually has the capacity to hold about 800 kids in it. Yep. Okay. So we will still have plenty of room to grow there. We felt like one of the things that I always hated when I was high school principal that when I'd have those 8th graders come up to freshmen, they were going to hit me on 3 tests. And I had no clue who these kids were. I didn't know their backstories. I didn't know their histories. And so I always felt like I was a little bit behind the 8 ball with them. Okay. And even though we ended up doing pretty well, I didn't like that. And so the thought process behind this is to have the 1st and 2nd grade there. Okay. Teachers are already getting to know them. They're already working with specialists. They're all housed under the same person, the same people. Everybody knows them. And they don't take a test on us till the 3rd grade. So we've got a couple years to really get to know those kids really well. And it's not a knock on the elementary currently what they're doing. It helps with communication. It helps with planning.
It's all better to be under one roof.
It's just easier to be under one roof. And so the scores historically at the intermediate school have not been good. I mean, you go back for years and years and years, and their scores have been pretty rough. We've gone through many, many principals. We've gone through many, many teachers, okay? So at some point, you kind of got to look at, to me, how's this thing set up? Is this what the issue is?
Kind of it's not you, it's me.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those deals where, okay, we've gone through 4 or 5 principals in the years that things been there. Not one of them, as far as really just said, all of a sudden, boom, huge improvement in scores. Yep. And so we're just kind of thinking, maybe we just need to make this move here and see what this does. And I do think it's going to help.
Well, the most dangerous words are, well, that's the way we've always done it.
True.
Because unless we're on top of everything and we're maxing out and we're winning championships or we're knocking the tests out of the park,
right,
something has to change.
Something has to change.
And if you're not changing it, then you're just going to keep getting possibly the same result. But at least if you change it, at least you know that you've exhausted all of the options.
The last time that we had a STAR test, which is now, 2 years ago, I guess, when they came back, 7 out of 10 of the tests in that campus were below state average. Yep. And that's historically, since I've been here for 7 years, that historically been an issue, that you would have 60 to 75% of the STAR tests that those kids take were below state average. And I just think it's an alignment issue. I think that's one of the issues. And so we go in there and try to get those kids early and quick and under the same roof. I think it'll help out. So,
and when you say alignment issue, I think it's something that the general public needs to know. Alignment is going to be considered vertical alignment of curriculums from grade to grade.
Correct.
That where 1st grade starts and where it ends is where 2nd grade picks up, or possibly there's an overlap.
Right.
And whenever you're changing campuses from elementary to intermediate, sometimes vertical alignment gets lost just because of communication gaps.
It does. I mean, it just to me would just run smoother and easier if you've got everybody housed in one spot. So we will be moving the 6th graders out of there, and we will be putting them over to the middle school. And that is one of the first things that I heard that when I became superintendent, we had a meeting of our teacher's voice. And that's one of the first things that came up was, Todd, can we get the 6th graders out of here? Because I don't really think it's age appropriate. Those kids are changing big time. They don't look like the rest of them. Yep. And really we need to get them out of there and more into a secondary setting, which is where they need to be. They don't need to be in an elementary school setting. And so those 6th graders will go to the middle school. That will be 6th through 8th there. Right. And then, of course, the high school will stay the same.
Well, and, of course, in Pilot Point, we all know that there's a huge love of tradition in Pilot Point. Mm-hmm. And this is very close to the alignment that I grew up in Chance grew up in, where
don't throw me in.
No, because you went, what'd you get? Did you go elementary G cells?
Oh, I went kindergarten through 8th grade at G.
Okay.
And then I went to high school at
All right,
cells.
so, the elementary, it was
old.
K through 5 at the elementary.
Yes.
It was 6 through 8 at the G school, and then 9 through 12 at cells.
Speaking of not age appropriate, I remember like in kindergarten, my kindergarten teacher's son was considerably older than me, and when we would walk through the halls like to go to the gym, I would see him in like 7th or 8th grade walking the halls in the junior high hall. We'd wave at each other, but yeah, it was
And so and I agree. After being in that setting of 6 through 8 in one spot, it was nice to go ahead and get in that routine of changing classes with the bell.
It
and
is, and
having to figure out that at the G school that hallway that was in between the two halls. The first time I went through, I had no idea it was the girls' bathroom. So I ran through there quickly, and I was like,
Yep.
holy crap, what happened?
Yep.
And, it was good to learn all those lessons as a sixth grader, because then that gosh, this is going to be very Corona-ish. It lessened the learning curve. We reduced the curve of learning of being a 7th and 8th grader, because I learned all those lessons as a 6th grader.
Well, this starts matching up more what a traditional setup is for schools.
Yeah.
Traditionally middle schools are 6 through 8. Yep. And so, and it's one of the things is, I think, with what Darla Wooten has trouble with sometimes is you want to try to start treating those 6th graders as 6th graders and moving them around and everything, but at the same time you've got all these elementary school kids on your campus, and it's like you're trying to run 2 different schedules. It's just a pain in the neck. And so that's, I don't know, I just think it's the best move. The other thing that helps us with it is like, for example, when we share folks. Okay, so let's take the band, for example. Mr. Bachman, Ms. Cobb, Ms. Conn, those guys, rather now running around to 3 campuses, they're running to 2 campuses. So that kind of helps there. Yeah. We're trying to get a situation to where, with this realignment, dealing with looking at our staff, we've got our music teacher going from the elementary to the intermediate school back and forth. So we're trying to get everybody separated out to where they have their own house and they stay there. We're trying to minimize sharing as much as possible. Is what we're trying to do.
Focusing on efficiency.
Focusing very hard on efficiency. And what this move is going to allow us to do is, as a district, it's going to allow us to save right at about $400,000. Okay.
That should make everyone happy.
That should make everybody happy. And then what hopefully will make everybody even happier is we're going to try to turn around and give some raises to some folks who really need it. We've got, some of our aides, Chance, like we've got some aides that don't even break $16,000 a year. And these guys come in and they work like dogs. They're great with the kids. We need to keep those folks around because they're a vital part to running a school district. And so,
especially a daycare.
Just throwing
that out there. I know someone.
Yeah. Yes, you do. So we're going to look at that, and so we're going to focus hard on our aides, and we're going to also focus hard on our office folks, our secretaries and receptionists, those sorts of folks. The one thing that we're worried about is right now the legislature's meeting down in Austin, and they're talking $1 billion shortage and all that kind of stuff. So that kind of makes you a little bit nervous about what they're going to do as far as our funding goes. If they come through and everything's fine, all right, we can go do what we want to do. If they don't and end up cutting us, well, we've already taken the moves that we need to make in order to sustain a hit.
If I'm understanding what you just said, and you do all of this, if they cut us $400,000, then we're fine because we just saved $400,000.
Right. So it's a move of flexibility, is what it is. Is we can move left or right as we need to. So, and what I've pretty much told everybody is we probably all won't shake out as far as the money goes until probably July, in all honesty. But we are setting ourselves up to be very flexible over the course of the next few months, and hopefully, I hope it works out. I hope it works out to where we can give, and it will be for some of these folks, significant raises.
Yeah.
I hope it will work out and our funding holds up with the state so we can do that.
Now, this is what I have written down in my notes here of positives of this realignment.
Mm-hmm.
All right, curriculum alignment between campuses and grades.
Right.
It's going to make it easier on the shared personnel between campuses.
Yep.
Saves money on payroll with increased efficiency and also through natural attrition.
Correct. And that's the one thing is we normally run about, and it's not good, but we normally run about probably a 25 to 30% turnover rate.
Yeah.
And so as people resign or retire or whatever, we're just going to probably absorb that position and look to see how we can shuffle it around. And we do have a master plan. We've been working on that and see how we can move things around and absorb that position, still cover things like we need to.
And so through the natural attrition, it doesn't look like it's buzzwords in education. There's no riff. There's nothing where it's all of a sudden the administration mafia is coming through to try to hand out pink slips.
There could be the possibility of a few aides. As far as teachers, I don't see that happening at
Sure.
all. There may be a few aides, but again, the deal is you're going to have some aides probably resign,
Right.
and those folks that are sitting out there that we may just work them in, and we're fine. So
Well,
that's still a little bit up in the air, but no, I don't see there's not going to be a mass layoff, everybody getting paid. No, that's not happening at all.
You have the wonderful stories like Andy Clark, who was in an office
Correct.
position, and then she got certified, and she has been a rock star
Really good
in the
teacher.
classroom.
Yes.
And that would open up an office position that now could be
Correct.
just, hey, she
Yes.
promoted out, and we just don't
Yep.
feel it.
Yep.
And so
That is exactly right.
that's natural attrition to
Yep.
those that might not understand. And then also increased flexibility on money and personnel.
Right.
Well, is there any?
Well, one other thing I was going to mention,
okay.
as far as the middle school goes, we will be offering all CTE courses to the 7th and 8th graders next year. And so what that is going to allow us to do, that will allow us to get about another $250,000 in additional funds because of that. So we've been looking at money hard.
Now,
And so,
with those CTE courses,
Mm-hmm.
the influx of money comes from federal funding that's granted to CTE courses, correct? And that
I don't know if
kinda
it's federal, it may be state. But
upper
it's
level
yes.
funding
Yes.
that comes from offering these CTE courses.
Right.
And are those going to be kind of how we started offering Spanish 1 to 8th graders in pre-algebra and
Yes.
stuff? Is that going to be a high school transcript type thing?
It will not necessarily. It will be though. Maybe it just kind of depends on what the course is.
Yeah.
But what it'll do, it'll allow us to get some of those fundamental basic classes out of the way down at that level,
Sure.
to where it will open up stuff for Blake and Sarah Beth and Stacy to teach up at the high school.
Yeah.
And so it's a win-win because again it gets us more funding, and then also it'll hopefully turn around and give us a little bit more opportunity to offer different classes up there. So
Well, having taught BIM 1,
Right.
last year, that is not a high school reserved course. That's basically a computer's basics.
yeah, and you
that
can
would
teach
be
that at the middle school.
That would be great for
Yes.
the middle school because that's one
Mhm.
more year that they have to put the things that they
Right.
learn into practice with everything that we.
And see, and that's something, Travis, that changed here the last few years. I used to teach BIM at the middle school, and you can do it, but you didn't get the funding for it as you would at a high school level. They've changed that up to where now you can go down as low as the 7th grade, teach a class like BIM, and still get the funding for it. And so it's just the opportunity for us to get more money, and the opportunity for us to get our kids prepared for those sorts of things. And so it's a move that needs to be made.
Well, any time that we're adding funding and it's not.
It's good
coming,
for kids.
Yeah, it's not coming
It's good
anywhere
for
but from
kids.
what we offer.
Right.
There's some
Right.
grant or whatever, however the
Right.
funding gets there.
Right.
That's a good deal because
It's
it's
perfect timing and typical as far as in my personal finance world. When you find a way to save money, then the world works its way out where you didn't save it. So probably
It's
we'll
true.
save all this money, and
Just
then
true.
the government will cut
And
the funding exactly about the same amount that you
Yes.
worked hard to save.
Yes, or have 5 buses blow up at $100,000 each. You know, I mean
Awesome.
that you're right. It never fails. The minute you try to save somewhere, something else blows up. So you're right. But again, at least we'll have the money there.
It's true. It's better than
Yes.
not saving it, and then
Yeah.
it hits doubly as hard.
Yeah. So the other thing too is we'll be adding an SRO next year as well. We'll have an SRO stationed at the now intermediate, will be elementary.
so will that put
full-time.
us up to 3 total?
Yes, it will.
Okay.
There'll be 3 total SROs.
So there's going to be full time at the high school, full time at the middle school, and full time at the intermediate.
Correct. And so I didn't feel good about having, 1st through 5th graders over there without a cop there all the time.
Sure.
And so we went ahead and made that decision. I had talked to Chief Connor about this a while back ago, and we've already got that pretty much figured out.
Well, and then I know that, of course, 3 out of our 4 campuses have SROs. Then you're going to have a certain segment of the population that says, what about the elementary?
The pre-KK.
Having the whole admin staff there, I think, is a huge benefit.
It will be well guarded.
I
I will put it that way.
I wasn't going to use specifics, but
It will be well
they're
guarded.
They're
Yes.
I know for sure there are 2 people who are guardian equipped
Defenders,
there.
yes.
They are defenders, and so it is not that the elementary is not
No.
under the watchful eye
No.
of someone.
It will be like an armory.
Yes, and that's good. Well, that's where my wife and my daughter will be.
Yeah.
And so.
And for those out there that are stumped by y'all's acronyms that you throw around, an SRO is an on-site police officer.
It's a school resource officer, which they're employed by the city and by the ISD as a shared officer.
Yep.
And so, all right. Well, if you don't have anything else to add,
I think we're good.
I was in Mr. Williams' office the other day, and there is one remnant of your stay still left there. It's not the toilet.
It's not the toilet?
No, the toilet has since been moved.
This has been moved.
Max Holler still is on the wall. And
Max.
I guess Jacob just refused to take it down.
Max is, I hate to say this, Max is one of my all-time favorite kids. He is just a good, solid kid.
And that's not because he's related to you.
Not because he's related to you. That has nothing to do with that. Okay. He is, so last year, I walk into my office, sit down at my desk, and I look up, and there's this poster of Max Holler on my wall. And where does this come from? So I walk out into the cafeteria, and Max is grinning ear to ear.
Guilty.
So I yell at him, Max, come here. The whole cafeteria just goes silence. Yell at Max, come here. So he walks up to me. I said, how did that poster get up on my office wall? He goes, did you take it down? I went, no. He goes, well, that means you like it. And so I said, Max, my kids come into my office every day. You're going to scare them. Get that thing down. I think it was up in my office for about 2 months.
Yeah.
And so I did see that the other day. I walked into Jacob's office, and there was Max Holler's poster hanging up in his office.
I'm interested to now see how long it stays up.
Matt, he is such a good kid.
He is.
He's a great kid.
He's a great representation of what we have in Pilot Point.
He really is.
Fantastic kids.
I was really impressed with him during the summer. He would come out and work with the kids in baseball. I mean, he was up in McKinney at 8 o'clock in the morning there in the dugout, just really to be there. I mean, he helped some, but, just being around, he's just, he is one of my favorites. I hate to admit that openly and publicly, but he is.
Well, to address criticism about our 10 with Todd segments, 10 is a very free-flowing number. Maybe it's minutes. Maybe it's questions. Maybe it's snide comments. We don't know what it is, but you're going to get 10 of something with Todd. And 10 with Todd is graciously brought to you commercial-free by our sponsors, Southern Junkies, Pelsel Printing, Pilot Point Post Signal, Chandler Cabinets, Dana Walkridge, Mania Insurance, and last but not least, Ashley Marsh Photography, and is presented to you by Irick Real Estate with Chance Kirby. We thank those sponsors, and to show your appreciation, please make sure you go shop these local businesses so they can keep supporting us. And as always, go Bearcats.